Yeah.
All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Want to welcome you to our monthly tech group, which has been going on reasonably well recently. Hope you've enjoyed the regular presentations we've been running. Today I'd like to welcome Paul Tselichtchev. Did I get it right this time?
Yes, you did.
All right. Paul's been living in the building for about 6 months, and he's volunteered to do this presentation on, we kept calling it cybersecurity, but we're going to call it fraud and cyber fraud.
Yes.
And Paul's going to provide tips and how to prevent yourself from getting irritated by other people. All right. Please welcome Paul.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
I guess you're probably competing with the hockey game.
I think it starts in an hour.
Yeah,
we have an
I'm
hour.
good. I'm clear for the next 55 minutes.
Okay, good.
Yeah, thanks for coming here. It's nice to present to everybody and just speak about this important topic. I think the first reason I wanted to do it is because I actually recently had a client who fell for this scam a couple of months ago. What happened was a message popped up on her computer saying, "You've been hacked, your identity's been hacked. Microsoft is going to help you recover your identity, but in exchange you need to give us a bag of cash and leave it on your neighbor's porch. Don't talk to the cops, don't talk to the RBC, and we're going to open a special bank account with you with this money." So lo and behold, she did it. Yeah, and no chance of recovery at that. And I took her to the police station, I took her to the bank with me, and at the branch, what kind of shocked me was the branch manager said, "I get this kind of meeting 5 times a day." So yeah, so that kind of really, that's why I reached out to Larry and Mike to say, I've got this deck that I've done a few times at branch presentations. I just always think it's a great reminder of, all the ways that we're being hacked or attacked. And just walk through. If anybody has questions, raise your hands. We'll make it nice and easy, nice and cozy. So if you want to interrupt, just please do so. So first we'll just talk about the introduction of fraud, how it happens. Then we'll wrap up with how you can protect yourself, and then we'll do a Q&A if anybody has questions. So I think first we'll just start off with some scary facts. So in 2024, the government of Canada estimated that about $648 million was lost to fraudsters. And this year it's no better. We're expecting, based on the first quarter numbers, it's expected we're going to hit $660 million. So a lot of monetary damage to Canadians being done by fraudsters. And another statistic that I thought was interesting to share is that nearly half of Canadians have fallen victim to fraud. So, if it's happened to you, don't feel too bad. It means one in two chance that it will happen to you at some point in your life. Mm-hmm. And the other reason I find this is really important is that scams are on the rise. And the most common ones right now are investment scams. So this is when a scammer reaches out and says, "I'm gonna sell you gold bricks at this amazing price that's too good to be true," and people fall for it.
And it's not.
Exactly. We have extortion scams. So people will say, "I have information on you that could lead to your arrest, that could make you lose your job unless you wire me money." We have recovery scams. So this is the CRA. I'm sure you've heard all the news where you get a text message or an email saying, "We've recovered X amount of dollars to your tax return. Please click this link. You'll get your money back." We've got romance scams. So one of the more common ones as well right now. I think that's self-explanatory. We've got spear phishing scams, and that's that. So what is fraud overall? Fraud is just when somebody tries to deceive you for their own personal or financial gain, and cyber fraud is when this is done through the means of electronics. So either through the computer or in the modern day through your mobile phone. And one of the scary things about cyber fraud right now is the rise of AI. So I know I've been getting a lot of questions about this even with clients, is how do I know that when I speak to my client that it's not an AI impersonation? So again, we'll talk about that and why it's important. So how does fraud happen? So one of the main ways that it happens is people take your address, your account numbers, information such as that. They can do that through hacking. They can even do that through ruffling through your garbage. They could do it through any kind of means of questions, social media. They also this happens to you if you compromise your PIN or password. So this could be done in a numerous set of ways that I'll touch upon. Passwords is usually the most common ways people do password 123 as their password, their names, their birthdays, and that's very easy to guess, especially now with, again, AI available to us. These hackers are now, using AI to generate a code that can start guessing your password. So very scary things out there. They can steal your credit card or debit card information same way. So with online shopping becoming so prevalent, all these providers or shops, I guess, so to speak, they're always being targeted to get this information. So it's really important to protect yourself in any way possible. And then of course, preying on curiosities and fears. So just like I said with my client, a message pops up, sounds very scary, or it might be very enticing. And one thing leads to another. These people, make it their goal and they try very hard to get any kind of information out of you. And then that leads to the cascade of, more fraud occurring. Oops. So the good news is that humans like us, we're responsible for 88% of the data breaches. Why is that good news? It means that we're able to prevent this. So if it was the opposite, if the 88% was not in our control, it'd be a much darker picture to paint. But the good news is mostly we're responsible for it. So we have the greatest chance to avoid being defrauded and improve our cybersecurity. So types of fraud and fraud tactics, we have password compromise, we have debit and credit card fraud, we have social engineering. And social engineering involves phishing, spoofing, fake websites, vishing and smishing, so I'll walk through those terms. Malware, identity theft, and also we have financial abuse. So password compromise, as you guess, the most common way, like I said, is when people guess your password. So hackers, they have multiple computers, they have farms set up, and they can do about 1 billion guesses per second. So yeah, it's a lot. So if you're using simple passwords, it's a good time to go and look, especially for the important websites such as your banking, your CRA. Maybe it's time to start, making it more complex. So many of us, like I said, like to use simple passwords. Some are 123, password 123, and that's, it gets solved very quickly now. Password hacking can also happen when, you're in a public place. You might be waiting for your coffee, you might pull out your phone, and somebody might be watching over your shoulder and catches you typing in a simple password. So always make sure, if you're typing in compromising information such as your password, that nobody's watching over your shoulder. Try to cover your screen. So debit and credit card fraud, again, same story. This is when somebody steals your debit card or credit card or your PIN number. And what happens is the person can go through your mailbox, your garbage, they can find your credit card statements or other banking information. They can swipe your credit card through a device that copies info stored on the magnetic stripe of your card. So I'm sure you've heard of stories when you take the cab, when you take an Uber, sometimes they'll take the payment machine, they'll take your card, they'll be like, can I see your card? I'm gonna do the payment. So when that happens, a lot of the times they'll have a machine that scans the magnetic strip and they have your information. They can hack into the company computer so that, again, if you use Amazon, not to say Amazon's not safe, or other stores where you do online shopping, it stores your information when you make a purchase. So again, it's always important to go through your online purchases. They can install small devices on payment terminals. So when I worked at the branch, I saw this a lot actually. Probably once a week somebody came in, I went to the Shell gas station, I swiped my card to pay for gas. Next hour I had 8 purchases for Apple gift cards on my debit card. So scary, but as long as you catch it on time, it's good, you'll be in good hands. Last one is they can ask you to use your credit card on a fake website to make a purchase. So sometimes you'll receive a link to say, they know people purchase certain things, or they might have found out you purchased through a certain store. They'll send you a link that looks exactly like the store you're used to, and then you'll make the purchase, but in fact you're not purchasing the real item, you're actually just giving the hacker or the fraudster your information. So social engineering, this is probably the most popular and effective tool that fraudsters are using today. and that's manipulating, influencing, and deceiving a person to agree to a request, and that's usually to release some information that's going to benefit the fraudster. So this is the most common one. You'll receive a phone call, you'll receive an email, a text message. The person pretends to be a worker of the bank. You know, your debit card's been compromised. I just need to confirm it's you. Please give me your PIN, etc., etc. They pretend to be someone they're not in order to gather information, because once they have that first piece of information, they can usually start reverse engineering and getting more information. Another way that it happens actually is, this actually happened with when the celebrities, I don't know if you recall, it was about 10 years ago when all the celebrities had their emails, the iCloud hack, when everybody had their photos leaked. This was actually done through this way, where the people thought it was a Google administrator and an Apple administrator emailing the celebrities. So the celebrities fell for it too. They thought their account's been compromised. What it led to was their iCloud password being leaked, and we know what happened after that. Okay. So email scams, and that's phishing and spoofing. So again, this is fake emails. I get these all the time. I'm sure everybody here gets these emails all the time. Yes.
So what's the difference between phishing and spoofing?
So spoofing is, just one second. So here it says that phishing is takes advantage of your fears. The scammers will play on your emotions and try to create it. They'll tell you a scary story about how your bank account is being threatened and how they need you to provide information. Spoofing is another key tactic of online scammers. The scam will often include a fake email address, website that scammer will use into tricking sensitive. I guess with phishing, it's you clicked on it and then you did your information, whereas spoofing, they're the ones that are tricking you into giving.
Okay.
But the main goal of both of these is for you to give away some kind of personal information, especially sometimes it'll be you'll think it's innocent information, such as when's your child's birthday, but that's enough information to start calling your creditors, for example. Sometimes that's a security question that they notice is on your computer. So always just be aware of when information is being asked for. So this is just 3 examples of what phishing looks like. So this one is an RBC account. It looks really identical, but the big takeaway here is the 3 bold letters in the link. And that's how you know it's a fake account. But otherwise, it looks completely real. So, even somebody with poor eyesight, they might fall victim to this. So it's really scary how complex and sophisticated they're getting. Here's another one where it was from the National Security Department. Please do a FaceTime verification. A lot of people see these emails, they get really scared. It's scary to get national security, and they think if I don't click this, I'm in more trouble. So again, the big thing is don't click anything that you're not familiar with. And then here's another one that's very common as well, is an email that says click to review a document. So it might be, again, your driver's license expired, please review this, click the document. So while it sounds very obvious, again, it happens a lot. Like I said, the bank manager says 5 times a day, these things happen. Yes?
When you said that there are 2 bold letters
Yes.
at the beginning, is
Yep.
that on purpose or is it just
So the only way the phishing people can make it look like the actual link is by bolding the letters. And that's something that it's a very small detail that people just don't even pick up on or notice. And that's otherwise they wouldn't be able to use, for example, RBC. They would have had to use different letters. But when they bold it, I don't know the technological or technology aspect of it. When you bold it, it allows you to use the same letters.
because I notice quite often the spelling mistakes.
That's also a huge giveaway. So if you ever notice a spelling mistake on a link or in an email, that's a dead giveaway that you probably shouldn't need to click it. I would also say 99% of the time, no email is urgent enough that you should be clicking it.
Very often you'll see people use the letter, if you have the legitimate site has the letter M in it,
Mhm.
lowercase m, they will replace it with an R and a N.
Oh,
And quick glance,
yeah.
you'll never recognize it.
Wow, great point.
So I guess the bottom line is, when you get this stuff, you should go to the legitimate site, like go to your bank site.
Yeah,
Not hit on any link, but go to your bank site or contact your bank and say, okay, I got this,
Yeah.
so that,
with banks, so I'll speak on the banks like everything else. I mean CRA as well, but with the banks, you're more like you can always go to the. My suggestion is always go to the branch. It's better be safe than sorry. Show them the email. Show them the that. 99% of the time, it's probably not coming from them. You can also call if you want to call. You don't want to go to the branch. There's a number on the back of your debit cards and credit cards that you can also call to say, "Hey, I received this. Is this okay?" So that's it's a good point. One other thing as well is I notice in emails now something that new is happening is they're able to change their the name. So it looks like it's coming from a legitimate name, and it's only when you click on the name again to check on the actual email it's coming from that it actually you notice like, oh, this email link just doesn't make sense. But it's being adamant, being cautious. I say it's better to be paranoid with this stuff than not. It's better to sound crazy than to have the identity theft, because I've seen it happen firsthand. It's not, it's not pleasant, it's not pretty. So phone and messaging scams, so this is the vishing and smishing. Vishing is the way that scammers will do everything through voice, so voice phishing. So this is when somebody, like I said, you'll receive a call saying, I'm a representative from XY Bank, your debit card's been compromised, I need you to just answer a few questions for me to confirm your identity. It'll even sound like they're in a call center. They'll make it sound very professional. And now again, with AI over the last 2 years, it's really bringing down the barriers of geography, time. So now, before at least we knew somebody has a really deep accent to, it's not like as safe as somebody with speaking proper English. Whereas now you have no idea where this call is coming from. Back then, it was commonly across the ocean. Now you really don't know. And then smishing again. So those are the SMS texts. Those have been really common over the last 5 years as well. I'm sure you've seen a few. Your debit card's been locked, or your CRA refund is ready. Please click this link. So anytime you see those text messages, I can assure you there is never urgency or a need to click an SMS text message from a bank or the CRA. Go to your CRA login, go into your go into your bank login, but do not click anything from text messages, especially from numbers you don't recognize. Social media scams, so this we're all on Facebook, we're all on Twitter, we're all on YouTube, Instagram, etc. This is actually what doing my review about the slides was the scariest part. We post so much of our personal information on social media, even now, where you post videos of yourself talking. Maybe you posted a video of yourself at a birthday party. Now these fraudsters are able to take your videos and use AI to replicate your voice. And then they use that voice to then go and do the vishing scam to another family member. So the big takeaway with social media is please take a look at who you're accepting into your friends list on Facebook, who you're allowing to follow you on things like Instagram or Twitter, and also make sure to not include try to not include information that might be used in secret answers, secret questions situations. One other thing is, even if you reply to quizzes or brain teasers on social media, you're telling others, these hackers, I like quizzes. And what these hackers will do is they'll start sending you quizzes, and eventually one of them that you'll click to play the quiz, for example, it'll have malware in there, and that's, again, scary stuff. So be careful what you're clicking, be careful who you're, allowing to friend you, and always do a triple check. So if it's somebody you don't recognize, don't accept the friend request. So here's an example of the SMS example. So I'm sure you've all seen something like this. Your client card starting with 4519. With RBC, every single client card starts with 4519. But people go like, oh my gosh, like this must be my card, and then they click it. So, and again, the link looks fairly legitimate. Then there's other examples of text message scams. So, you know,
Can you read it?
yes.
Can you read it?
Yeah, for sure. So for example, dear customer, Bank of America needs you to verify your PIN number immediately to confirm you're the proper account holder. Some accounts have been breached. We urgently ask you to protect yourself by confirming your info here. And it'll be a link. IRS notice, I guess CRA. Tax return file overdue. Click here to enter your information to prevent being prosecuted. Very scary, when you see it first time, you don't want to be prosecuted by our tax people, but people click it. Beautiful weekend coming up. Want to go out? Sophie gave me your number. Check out my profile here. And it's a link to a profile. It's obviously not a profile. And they're in your phone or computer. Your entry last month has won. Congratulations. Go to link and enter your winning code 1122 to claim your 1000 Best Buy gift card. Very common one. So malware and ransomware. So this one is often used with the email scams that you have and links that you should not be clicking. So malware is designed to creep into your computer and create chaos on your systems. It can corrupt your files, mess up your applications, and it spies on your activity and even copies your data. So this is when, like I said, this was with my client. What happened was she clicked something that opened malware on her computer, and the hacker or fraudster was able to see everything she was doing for the last 48 hours. So she saw all her net worth, all her banking information, all her Facebook information, all of her emails, and now, you know, it's not great what's happening. Signs to look for if you think you might have malware is your computer is a lot slower. You might be missing or deleted security software, and your computer's starting to freeze and crash a lot more than you noticed. Malware can be installed by somebody physically taking your device. So you might take it to a computer shop that's not well known. They can install malware there. Or it could be done, like I said, you could visit a link that has malware available, or it could be done through an email. So over 90% of phishing emails actually contain malicious software or malware in the links and attachments. So before opening any email, check, do you recognize the sender? Were you expecting or have you ever received an email on this subject? So if you're getting an email completely out of the blue about a tax return or something of that nature, it's 99% a phishing scam. Were you expecting an email, or have you ever seen this email address? Same story. If it's an email, always check the email address that you're getting it from. Does the language used seem excessively urgent? That's also a dead giveaway 99% of the time, is nothing will ever be that urgent, especially coming from the CRA or a bank. Does the content include reasonable information, or does it seem suspicious? So always approach it with a suspicious eye. Always be, paranoid about it. Does the action required seem reasonable? In asking these questions, you'll find it easier to distinguish between a phishing email and a legitimate one. So like I said, somebody says we need to, save your identity, and in order to do so, you need to place 5 gold bars on your porch. It's obviously unreasonable. But again, like I said, I've personally, one of my clients have fallen victim to this, so it happens. So how to protect yourself online. So these are just kind of a guideline. None of this is gonna fully protect you at the end of the day, but these are great tips to help protect yourself. So first one's first is create unique passwords for different sites. Try to make them random, long, and secure. A lot of people like to use the exact same password for every single site they go on. So recommendation is, for the important ones, try to use different ones. I know it's hard to remember them all, but there are password managers that are great. And try to use one, random. People like to use numbers in a sequence. People like to use proper words. So you might say spring, summer, 1, 2, 3. Try to use completely random words. Maybe, I don't know, shoe, tree.
What about
Yes.
what about the ones, the password managers? They have a system where they could generate.
Yes.
Are they
Yeah.
any? They're good.
Yeah. They're safe. Just make sure you're using one that's very reputable,
Yeah.
not one that has 2 installs on the App Store. That's also probably a false alarm. So Password managers are a great way to do it, especially when there's a two-factor authorization. For example, with my phone, I use a password manager and it does face recognition. So that's a great way to, you know, add that extra layer. That's the next point. So leverage multi-factor authentication or tokenization. So this can be either, like I said, adding Face ID on your phone passwords, receiving an SMS code to your phone or to your email when you log in, and then using that code to then get your access to whatever site you're using. Again, I think I've said this a lot, but I'll say it again, don't click on unfamiliar links or open attachments from unknown senders or visit suspicious sites. Trust your gut, be suspicious, and don't give out your passwords or account numbers to anyone, including your loved ones. Keep it to yourself. You know, we've had this happen at a branch. I gave my daughter my password, and she wrote it down on a piece of paper at work, and that piece of paper is gone. And guess what? There's charges on her bank account. So, yeah, it seems very harmless. Of course, I'll give my kid my password to Amazon, but try not to. Avoid providing personal or financial information through email. 100%. I really try to avoid this. Even with my own clients, we'll do it over the phone, or we'll meet in person to hand over files. I really avoid any kind of information that could be compromising you. Always back up your files in a secure location. And then again, if you share your device, your iPads, your iPhones, maybe have multiple profiles on the devices or your laptops, have Face ID, make sure everything is not logged in, because a lot of the times people leave all their stuff logged in on their browser on their phone, for example, and somebody could go through your tabs and they can get access to a lot of stuff. So just make sure it's secure if you're sharing your devices. Yes?
So why are our company keeping a lot of your information, for example? I got a letter saying that my information had been hacked.
Mm-hmm.
It was the AGO,
Mm-hmm.
so very reputable, everything like that. And apparently they had information from people like 5 or 6 years earlier. So they did send me, I got hacked, my credit card started to go around too. That stopped. I did what needed to be done. But I did not do anything wrong, it was through them, right?
Yeah.
So why do they do that?
I can't speak for every company, but if I had to take a huge guess, it's because they love to sell your data. So obviously they'll anonymize your information, like your name and all that, and your address, but then they could, for example, do age, gender, postal code, and then maybe if you're a common visitor to the AGO, they start selling that to marketing, etc. And so much data out there now that's being sold. That would be my guess. My other guess is if you're a returning customer, your information's already there. So for loyalty programs and whatnot, those would be my guesses though. I can't speak to each company.
And what about birth date?
I think birthday kind of goes back to, even within their own department, they a lot of do data crunching. So they might, promotions for your birthday, for example.
Yeah, but for example, you could have a month and a year because to see seniors. But on my iPhone, I cannot take off my birth date. It was put there because I answered silly, when I bought it, and now it's stuck there. I don't think it's safe.
Yeah.
So it's.
Unfortunately, yeah. I mean, it's a great point. Your birthday, it's a great piece of information for somebody to try and use it, to say this is because that's one of the first questions people ask to verify identity is birthdays. So you make a great point. I really can't speak to someone like AGO, but my guess is, like I said, a lot of data selling goes on between companies, and companies like to analyze their own. So they might say, your birthday's coming up, they might send you a coupon for the AGO.
Yeah.
They might do it. So for those reasons, that would be my guess.
Okay.
Or you get an employee that's not honest.
Yeah.
I've started to give a wrong birthday.
over.
It's very simple, I vary between, it's still the same months, but I go from here to there.
Should be
Like,
29.
29.
Yeah, sometimes they'll ask you, you know,
Yeah,
you go
yeah.
to a website to look at a winery and they ask for your birthday and it's, you know, you-
First
I-
of June. or-
yeah, January 1st is always my birthday.
Well, exactly, that's the default. Good, yeah.
But in those cases, at least they're not asking for your name as well, so a lot of sites that ask for your birthday, again, a lot of data mining going on, they just
Okay.
wanna know who's visiting the site at what time, how to
Mhm.
target, their ads and all that.
Is there much sort of mail, stuff that comes through the mail that's fraudulent? I've had a few letters come and it just seems a little weird.
Is it a bank letter or kind of?
I can't remember the specific situation. I think it actually it was, and it was legitimate. I got myself in trouble, so end of story. I should have paid attention. All of a sudden I was in a collection agency for $26. Sorry, guys.
I would say anything is possible, so if it looks suspicious, your best bet again is to go to the source. Give them a call, visit them, if it's a bank, like I said, bring it to the bank. It's better to take that extra trip, call the CRA, call whoever and just verify, is this something you're sending out? One other thing you can do is, it's in the slide deck that Barry will send out after. There's a website from the government of Canada that it includes the top 10 scams going on right now.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of the times you can also type in, suspicious letter from this, and you'll notice on Google that you'll notice people being like, hey, I received this letter, and then you'll notice comments being like, scam, don't touch it. So that's one other way is you can always Google the scam. I found almost every single time that somebody's experienced it as well.
Yes.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
but it's definitely the fraud's definitely moving to the cyber world. So I think I was reading this morning that from 2015 till over the last 10 years, the amount of cyber fraud has gone up by 50 times or something of that nature. So it's much easier to do, and it gives the hackers a lot more ability. Like, it's hard to forge a good letter as well, to get the letterhead properly a lot of the times, whereas if you get a call and it really sounds like somebody it's very tough, especially when you get a call and it's urgent and help, I'm in danger. Our natural instinct is I gotta help. So it's scary. So social media, again, avoid oversharing and be mindful of identifying information in photos. So a lot of the times people leave birthdays especially, there will be something in the background that these hackers will use. They will analyze your photo down to the last little grain for them to get some kind of information out of it. Maybe you left your debit card or credit card on the kitchen table and you just didn't realize that the photo was being taken. It happens. So just be careful, maybe go through tonight or in the next week, just go through to see maybe there's some photos that might have some information you don't want to be being shared. Even stuff like your address, make of your car, your license, your driver's plate, anything like that. Quizzes and surveys, again, kind of touched upon this. This gives people that kind of green light, okay, this person likes quizzes and surveys. We'll send them a few legitimate ones, then on the 6th one, we'll send the one with the scam in it. And also sometimes these quizzes and surveys also reveal information about yourself as well that allows them to then take that information and either pretend to be yourself or use it again against you. Friend requests from people you don't know, so it's better to just leave them be. They're, hurt their feelings, it's okay, it's better to protect yourself. And try to do charitable donations through reputable channels. So there is a way to check any charity is legitimate. There's a database of charities that you can look up. So don't click any links, don't click anything in your SMS to donate to a cause. It happens a lot, frequently more in the States. In Canada, we don't deal with as much natural disasters, but with the wildfires, for example, you might get an SMS saying, Red Cross, donate to Red Cross, send $100 now, click this link, and it's not going to Red Cross. So, yes.
Just go to the bank and do the Red Cross donation.
Correct, great point. So use the bank, we're always happy to help you when we can. We're always much happier when somebody comes with a responsible question and says, you know, I want to do this because I received that. It's a much better experience for everybody than when we have to call the fraud center and wait for hours. Yes?
There is a new organization called Canada Helps
Mm-hmm.
that will just put all your donations together.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, they give you the list of what you've done during the year, and then you can just give it to the CRAs. So it's very practical.
Yeah.
Started about two years ago.
So it's been here a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been
So
here a long
it's
time.
very good.
What's the benefit of that as compared to?
One of the things also is that if you want to make a donation, if you go through the credit card, then the problem is that the credit card take a cut. So
Okay.
they also help you to say, okay, if you give $1 more, then the whole donation is going to go there.
Okay.
And it just streamlines what you're doing, especially if you do it monthly. So
All right.
that's.
So I know this slide's RBC because I work for RBC, but I can probably say with 99% certainty every bank does the same thing, so it's not just RBC. They're never going to ask you to disclose their PIN, your PIN or security codes for answer to your personal verification questions over the phone. That's a hard rule. This is probably one of the easiest ones to identify fraud. If somebody asks you for this, just hang up the phone or stop answering or using whatever you're doing. Only use short codes. So this is an interesting one. When you get the SMS code to log into your banking, for example, banks will only use short codes like this. Sometimes one of the scams is you'll get a code that's 3 words, for example. It's not, it's for something else. So typically it's 6 digits, stick to that. It's a good rule of thumb. Again, if you receive suspicious communication from any bank, any kind of organization where there is a number that you can reach or you can visit in person, call them, call the number on the back of your card, and you can also report suspicious text to your telephone company by forwarding the message to 7726. So, great way to protect others.
If anybody doesn't recognize what 7726 is, it's actually SPAM. Spam.
So again, RBC just for the deck, but all the banks include, and then other organizations as well, very strict privacy policies. They're investing in new technologies all the time. So again, using the reputable companies that we have is probably one of the best advice I have as well. For example, our division invested $300 million in cybersecurity this year alone. So they're being targeted. I think they said they get 100 million attempts at cyber attacks a minute. RBC is facing, and they're able to defend that. So, it gives you confidence to work with these established companies who are spending as much as they possibly can to protect your information and your data. Companies all have fraud experts, so they also have people crunching all this stuff. So it's all an ongoing battle at all times. There's always a new fraud or scam going out there, but every company, big company, usually has these fraud experts. 100% online security guarantee, and then education. So a lot of banks will have great pages. So I have the links in the last slide that RBC has. They're fantastic to just, again, go through, and there's a checklist of what you should do to prepare yourself, 5 common tips, et cetera, I'm sure every single bank will have this. So TD, CIBC, if you type in cybersecurity, they probably all have dedicated pages. So take a look, take a read, because like I said, it's not a pleasant experience. It's, it takes a lot to get back, especially if it's your debit card. That's another point I'll bring up is typically if you get defrauded on your credit card, it's pretty straightforward. The credit card usually does a quick investigation and you're refunded. With a debit card, it's a lot more complicated. So another recommendation that I would say is, especially with small purchases, I would say a credit card is probably better because you'll get refunded more oftentimes than not. So this is the resources that I have. So I'll share the slide deck with Barry. You can send it out. Lots of sites that can go through more cybersecurity scams. And that's it for me. If anybody has questions or open the floor.
Are any of these scammers prosecuted in any way?
No. I don't know, like when I went with my client to the police, for example, the amount was substantial. And, you know, they said, you know, you shouldn't have done it. So.
Your client was she scammed from overseas or locally?
Locally, the general, well, whoever was on the phone might have been overseas. We
Yeah.
have no idea to verify that.
Okay.
But the person coming to pick up the money was
somebody local.
local, so
Yeah.
it could have been an operation where, in this case, it was Microsoft. It was somebody pretending to be from Microsoft and the Bank of Canada. And she fell for it, unfortunately. So I'm sure on a large scale, you know, the police does have their cybersecurity division, but, you know, it's, at best, you know, you can hope for it, but if they're across the ocean, it's very hard to prosecute.
Well, if each bank's spending the amount that you're referring to,
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't it be to their interest to actually prosecute some of these?
Oh, absolutely, but it's the police that has to do the prosecution, unfortunately. There was another, just off the top of my head, I forgot. Sorry, it'll get back to me. Yes?
There is also, normally you can recognize the phone number or the code first, so 416 or
Mhm.
450. And now it's impossible to do that because on the phone you have one phone number,
Mm-hmm.
but then after that you have another phone number that it could be from anywhere,
Yeah.
you know, so how do people do that?
My rule of thumb is don't pick up the phone if you don't recognize the number. We've unfortunately hit that stage in the world of today, is if you don't recognize the number, don't pick it up. Nobody will be calling you with that kind of urgency, that if you don't pick up, that something bad is gonna happen. Ultimately, that's kind of.
They could always leave you a message, and those guys do.
Exactly. If it's very important, that's a great point. If it's very important, the person will leave you a message at the end of the day.
For what it's worth, you know, I certainly agree with Paul that I would normally not answer my phone if I don't recognize the number. Most of my contacts are in my phone, so it actually shows the name. So it's very rare that I'll get a call that's legitimate, that shows a number. The only exception to the rule that you make is that if it doesn't show any name or any number, it's because, I believe it's because the number has been deliberately blocked by the person who's calling, and the only people I know who do that are doctors.
And then it
That's
comes
what
up
I was
private
saying,
caller.
Yeah,
Yeah.
private caller, or
Yeah.
it just doesn't show
Yeah.
any name or any number.
Yeah.
It's deliberately blocked, and I just find that it's usually doctors. And now that the iPhone has the voicemail capability that you can see as they're leaving the message, I said, I'll just pop it in the middle.
Yeah.
That's true.
And you're typically expecting that call too.
Yeah.
So, you know, you just went to the doctor's, 2 days later, you get that call. It's fair to say, okay, let me try. But especially with numbers, people spoof now numbers. So they can say it's RBC, for example, calling, but it's not RBC.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, so that's when, then, like I said, it's, unless they're a contact in your phone or, you know, Barry's situation, I would just say, let them leave you a voicemail and see what's important. One of the things they're also able to do is hold your line. So for example, you'll say, I'm gonna hang up and I'm gonna call the bank. And then when you pick up to call the bank, they actually reconnect back to your line.
Oh.
Yeah.
That happened to me, yeah.
Yeah. So it's a scary world out there.
That's not supposed to happen with the current technology. It used to happen with the old
Yeah.
phone rotary switches in the central office, because only one side could hang, the calling side could hang up, the other side could not. But
Yeah.
now with everything's driven by computer, It's not supposed to matter which side hangs up.
It's happened to me personally a few months
Okay.
ago. So
Alright.
I actually, it happened to me, which was also freaky.
Okay. All right.
Well,
So-
it's interesting to me that, like, it's just getting more and more sophisticated.
Yeah.
You know, I used to, like, you got an email, and the first thing I'd always do is look at the email
Yeah.
address. Where is it coming from?
Mhm.
And that was, I mean, that eliminated like 90% of the stuff that you got.
Yeah.
But they're getting more sophisticated, and I guess with the scam we got, we fortunately weren't scammed. We caught on before it happened, but selling a vehicle. And it was interesting how, they were prepared to commit a fair amount of time to this. It's not like you're just getting, oh, the CRA is gonna arrest you. This is
Mhm.
like, they're engaging you in a conversation that got quite, oh yeah, you're my new best friend, and then, and then something happens, and so, you've been kind of wound in.
Yeah.
And that's where, for me, it was scary. I just about hit the link, and I'm like, oh, no, this doesn't quite feel right.
Yeah.
But I was like this close.
Yeah. It's a great point.
So again, it's just the level of sophistication.
And it's only gonna get more and more sophisticated with
Exactly.
AI, so, be aware and just ask the questions to the people that you need to ask to. Don't be scared, don't be shy.
I've gotten in the habit like of using Apple Pay or doing a lot of my transactions on my phone and iPad because with facial recognition
Yeah.
and fingerprint recognition, it seems to be another level of security.
Yeah.
Am I delusional, or is that?
No, and I kind of touched upon that. It adds that extra level. So with especially the facial recognition, I find that that's a pretty good way. But I won't be surprised if in 2 years,
Yeah, I know.
I don't know if you've seen the latest AI that Google's made. Like the video that they're producing is, they have a comedian doing stand-up comedy with, you can't distinguish the difference anymore. So again, in 2 years, who knows what we're going to be faced with when it comes to this. So, yeah, be vigilant. Yes.
Great thing about this location is all the chartered banks have branches within a very short walking distance of our building.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Okay. Any more questions? All right. Thank you very much, Paul.
Thanks.
This was absolutely fantastic. Just to let you. I will be sending out the Paul's presentation and a copy of the video if it comes across within the next few days. We're not planning to do any kind of presentations over the summer months, but we will still be having our tech group meetings first Wednesday of every month. So if you want to come down, we can work on problems or discuss pretty much anything that's anything tech.
Tech conversation group.
Tech conversation group, that's right. And by the way, as usual, if any of you have any ideas for presentations that you might want, please let Mike or myself know. And at the same thing, if any of you are able to do any kind of tech group presentations, by all means, we're always looking for volunteers. So you've got an idea that you think you know something about at work or whatever, that's a good idea to do a presentation on, we'd love to have you.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Paul is going to